One thing that will get many a Star Citizen backer excited is the potential that in the future there could be some element of large-scale operations in the game. Just look at the popularity of the Xenothreat event, which gives a taster for what that might look like, and you soon get an idea for just how impactful that could be. But what might that fleet gameplay actually look like in the game? I'm Forrester, and in this video we'll explore some of the possibilities in that regard. It's important to point out that whilst this channel usually focuses on what's in the game right now, for the purposes of this video we'll stray a little into speculation and theory crafting. These are my thoughts, and please treat them as such, and not as a definitive promise of what we will get in-game. Starting with the persistent universe, most fleets are likely to be multiplayer. People often talk about their fleets, but really what they mean is the ships they personally own. Even with the potential for NPC backfill or server blades, it would be very surprising if players were able to simultaneously control multiple ships. Even more so than just the technical limitations, the balancing concerns would be notable too. So the ingoing assumption for the rest of this video is that fleets will need to involve multiple players. Most real-world fleets are put together to achieve a specific task. In-game, that could be any number of things. For example, a mining expedition might require an Orion for the actual mining, a refinery ship to process that ore, a cargo ship to store the processed goods, and maybe a starfarer for refueling the fleet on the way in, and depending on how safe the surrounding space is, perhaps even some escorts. Or perhaps the fleet is a trade convoy with many cargo ships escorted by some combat vessels to ensure the fleet makes it to the destination safely. Or perhaps the fleet is built for the purpose of protecting a valuable ship, like many traditional military fleets. A carrier strike group has the aircraft carrier at the centre as the high-value ship, with escorts and screens around it to protect it. Although many of these ships also bring their own capabilities like long-range missile support or anti-submarine warfare, the primary purpose is often to defend the carrier. Interestingly here, there is a vulnerability element to the large ship. A lone wolf missile or torpedo from an aircraft or submarine could do huge damage to a modern-day aircraft carrier if it hit. It'll be interesting to see to what extent that carries across, or otherwise, into Star Citizen, when some of the larger ships have upwards of 10 players aboard. Again, for balancing reasons, it might be that it takes a bigger force to cause a real threat to these ships in-game. In lore, lots of UEE fleets have been used in this kind of manner. Large-scale operations focused on strategic rather than tactical objectives. But given that the UEE is a huge organisation, it might be that to see a fleet in the PU is a rare sight, and where a fleet is deployed, it's likely to be fielded by an organisation of players working together in real time with a clear, specific mission in mind, like making some big credits, or woe betide, hunting other players. There's some indication that there could be some nice developer-supported opportunities to put a fleet together too. Events like the Xenothreat incursion are a good example, where many of us have already put together our own mini fleets to join the event. Squadron 42, on the other hand, might offer much more potential for large fleet actions. It's much easier to implement as it doesn't require organising other players and can be highly scripted, not to mention running the assets can all be done locally rather than requiring a heavy load being placed on servers. Personally, I'd not be surprised if we saw some epic fleet battles in the Squadron campaign, with players perhaps flying a solo fighter through some big action going on. Long story short, I would expect that player fleets will have their place amongst highly organised multiplayer gameplay at the top echelon of PU activity. It would be much smaller than EVE Online fleets, with much fewer ships than the actual number of players involved, considering that larger ships may need multiple players aboard to make things happen. Fleet operations would be very cool to be involved in when they happen, but most of the time, players would expect to only encounter 1 or 2 ships, rather than these expansive groups. But those are just my thoughts. I have no extra specialist knowledge, and this has been a little speculation only. So what do you think? Are you excited to see big fleets in game? Do you think, like me, it'll be a rarity, or maybe commonplace to see? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to give me the nudge to make more videos in a similar vein, and equally, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, you might want to press that too, to tell YouTube it should recommend you more videos like this in the future. Otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.